Hey guys, Dr. Berg here. If your hair is thinning, falling out in the shower, or just looks dull and lifeless, stick around because I'm going to give you 7 foods that could be the missing piece to bring your hair back to life. Now, here's the thing. Most people think hair loss is just genetics or aging or stress. And yes, those play a role. But what a lot of people don't realize is that your hair follicle is one of the most metabolically active structures in your entire body. It's constantly dividing, constantly growing, and that means it needs a massive amount of nutrients: protein, iron, zinc, biotin, omega-3 seconds, vitamin D, just to keep functioning normally. So when your diet is missing key nutrients, your body does something interesting. It prioritizes survival organs, your heart, your brain, your liver, and it deprioritizes things like hair, skin, and nails. Your hair follicle basically gets put on the back burner. That's why nutrient deficiency is one of the most overlooked causes of hair thinning and hair loss. So today I want to walk you through 7 foods backed by real physiology that supply the specific building blocks your hair follicles need to function properly. Let's get into it. Somewhere right now, a strand of hair is falling out, and the person it belongs to has no idea their body just made a decision to let it go. Not because of age, not because of bad luck, but because deep inside their body, a silent triage is taking place, and hair lost the vote. Here is what almost no one is told. Your hair follicle is not decoration. It is one of the most biologically demanding structures the human body builds. Cell for cell, it divides faster than almost any tissue you have, faster than your skin, faster than your gut lining, rivaled only by bone marrow and the cells that produce sperm. To build that much tissue that fast, your body needs a constant, uninterrupted supply of protein, iron, zinc, oxygen, and a dozen other raw materials every single day. No exceptions. But your body does not treat every organ equally. When resources run low, and in a world of processed food, crash diets, and chronic stress, they run low more often than you'd think. Your body makes a ruthless calculation. It protects what it needs to survive. Your heart keeps beating. Your brain keeps firing. Your liver keeps filtering poison from your blood. And your hair follicles, magnificent but non-essential, get cut off quietly, without warning, without pain. This is called nutrient partitioning, and it is one of the most under-discussed mechanisms in modern medicine. Researchers have shown that iron deficiency alone, even without full-blown anemia, is strongly linked to hair shedding, especially in women, because iron carries the oxygen that keeps the follicle's engine running. No oxygen, no fuel, no growth. The follicle doesn't die. It simply goes to sleep, slipping into a resting phase called telogen, and one day, weeks later, that resting hair falls out in the shower, and you are left staring at the drain, wondering what happened to you. Zinc tells the same story. It is required for the enzymes that build keratin, the very protein your hair is made of, and for regulating the hormonal signals that keep the follicle cycling normally. Studies on people with unexplained hair loss have found zinc levels measurably lower than in people with healthy hair. And biotin, vitamin B7, acts as a critical cofactor in that same keratin production line. Take it away, even partially, and the machinery starts to stall. Now, here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This isn't happening because people are starving. It's happening because people are eating more calories than ever in human history while consuming fewer of the actual nutrients their follicles are begging for. Ultra-processed food delivers energy without delivering the iron, the zinc, the omega-3 seconds, the real protein your hair needs to survive. You can be overfed and undernourished at the exact same time, and your hairline is often one of the first places that truth becomes visible. There's more. Chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind you can't feel, the kind that doesn't show up as pain or fever, has been linked to something called follicular miniaturization. Picture it like this. A healthy follicle is a strong, thick root producing a strong, thick strand. Under sustained inflammatory stress, that root shrinks cycle after cycle, and the hair it produces gets finer, weaker, paler, until eventually it stops producing anything at all. This is not sudden. It does not happen overnight. It happens in silence over months and years while you keep living your life, blaming your genetics, blaming your age, blaming stress, never once looking at what has or hasn't been on your plate. And vitamin D. Nearly half of the world's population is now believed to run low on it. And researchers studying hair loss patients have repeatedly found vitamin D levels sitting well below those of people with a full, healthy head of hair. Vitamin D helps regulate the hair growth cycle itself, helping dormant follicles wake up and re-enter active growth. Without it, the sleeping follicles simply stay asleep. Here's the truth documentaries rarely say out loud. Hair loss is often not a diagnosis. It's a symptom, a visible physical signal that something deeper in your biochemistry has been neglected for far too long. Your body is not betraying you. It's communicating with you in the only language it has left after every louder signal was ignored. The follicle doesn't ask for much. It asks for iron so it can breathe. It asks for zinc and biotin so it can build. It asks for protein, the literal bricks of its own structure. It asks for omega-3 seconds to calm the fire of inflammation, and vitamin D to remind it that it's allowed to wake up and grow again. Give it what it's asking for, and something remarkable can happen. Dormant follicles can re-enter their growth phase. Shedding can slow. Strands can regain thickness they hadn't had in years. It will not happen overnight. Nothing this deep in your physiology ever does. But it begins the moment you stop starving, the one organ you were told didn't matter. Because it does matter. And your body has been telling you that all along. Every strand of hair on your head is running on a code, a biochemical code written in protein and minerals. And if even one line of that code goes missing, the whole system starts to fail. This is not metaphor. This is measurable, documented biology. And what you eat is either feeding that code or slowly erasing it. Start with the egg. So ordinary, so overlooked, sitting in refrigerators in nearly every home on Earth. And yet inside that yolk is one of the most complete genetic instruction sets for hair your body will ever receive. Hair is built almost entirely from a protein called keratin. And keratin cannot assemble itself from nothing. It requires amino acids, the raw material, egg supply in near perfect ratio, and it requires biotin, vitamin B7, which acts as the literal spark plug for the enzymes that stitch keratin together. Documented cases of biotin deficiency show visible, measurable hair thinning. Take away the spark plug and the engine that builds your hair simply stops turning over. Then there is a small, unassuming seed most people walk past in the grocery aisle, the pumpkin seed. Inside it, one of the richest concentrations of zinc found in any food on the planet. Zinc doesn't just support growth, it governs it, regulating the hormonal signals that tell a follicle when to grow, when to rest, and when to shed. researchers studying people with unexplained hair loss have found their zinc levels measurably consistently lower than those with a full, healthy head of hair. A tiny seed, and yet without it, the entire hormonal conversation your follicle depends on begins to break down. Now picture something darker, more visceral: liver. Feared by many, avoided by more, and yet it is arguably nature's single most concentrated source of usable iron. And here is the fact that should stop you cold. Iron deficiency is one of the most common, most correctable causes of hair loss on Earth, especially in women. And most people experiencing it never even know their iron is low. Iron is the molecule that carries oxygen into your follicle. No oxygen, no division, no growth. The follicle doesn't scream when it's suffocating. It just goes quiet. And one day, without warning, the hair it was holding falls into your hairbrush. Fatty fish tells a different, equally urgent story. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, swimming with omega-3 fatty acids that do something almost no one connects to their hairline. They fight inflammation. And chronic invisible inflammation around the scalp has been linked in research to a process called follicular miniaturization, where healthy, thick follicles shrink cycle after cycle into weaker versions of themselves, producing finer and finer hair until eventually they produce nothing at all. Fatty fish also delivers vitamin D. And here's a fact that should unsettle you. Study after study has found vitamin D levels measurably lower in people with hair loss than in people without it. An entire growth cycle waiting on a vitamin most people are quietly deficient in. Spinach looks humble on a plate, but it is quietly doing something remarkable, delivering plant-based iron alongside vitamin C. And that combination matters more than either nutrient alone, because vitamin C dramatically increases how much of that iron your body can actually absorb. Spinach also delivers folate, essential for rapid cell division. And remember, your hair follicle is one of the fastest dividing tissues in your entire body. Starve that division of folate, and the production line for new hair slows before it even begins. Greek yogurt carries something most people never think to connect to their hair probiotics, and a healthy population of gut bacteria that emerging research suggests can influence inflammation levels throughout your entire body, scalp included. But there's a deeper truth hiding here. It doesn't matter how many nutrients you eat if your gut cannot absorb them. A struggling gut can mean a starving follicle, even on a diet that looks perfect on paper. And finally, the sweet potato, soft, sweet, unassuming, and yet loaded with beta-carotene, which your body converts into vitamin A, the nutrient responsible for producing sebum, the natural oil that keeps your scalp and the follicles living inside it properly conditioned. But here's the twist. Researchers have uncovered too little vitamin A dries out the scalp and chokes the follicle. But too much, especially from concentrated supplements, can actually accelerate hair loss. The sweet potato solves that paradox entirely, delivering vitamin A in a form your body converts only as much as it actually needs. 7 foods, 7 separate biological pathways: protein and biotin building the physical structure, zinc and iron powering the machinery, and delivering the oxygen it runs on, omega-3 seconds, and vitamin D calming the inflammation that quietly shrinks follicles from the inside. Vitamin C multiplying the iron your body can use. Folate fueling the fastest dividing cells in your body. Probiotics deciding whether any of it gets absorbed at all. And vitamin A in exactly the right form, keeping the entire system properly lubricated and alive. This is not 7 random health tips scattered together for a headline. This is one interconnected system, a lock with 7 distinct keys. And when even one key is missing, the whole mechanism can grind to a halt without a single obvious symptom until the day you look down and realize how much you've already lost. Feed the system what it was built to run on, and it remembers exactly what to do. There is a moment in every story about healing the body through food where the story has to stop lying to you. And this is that moment, because as powerful as nutrition is, there is a hard, uncomfortable truth sitting underneath all of it. Sometimes the plate on your table is not the problem. Sometimes no amount of eggs or liver or salmon will bring back what's already been lost. And pretending otherwise isn't hope. It's a delay that for some people cost them a diagnosis they needed months, even years earlier than they got it. Here is what the research actually shows. Hair loss is not one condition. It is a symptom produced by dozens of completely different underlying causes. And food can only repair the ones rooted in nutrient deficiency. If your hair loss is being driven by genetics, androgenetic alopecia, the most common form of hair loss on the planet, affecting an estimated 50% of men and women at some point in their lives, no amount of zinc or biotin will switch off the genetic sensitivity of those follicles to hormonal signals. You can eat perfectly for years, and the miniaturization continues regardless because the instructions were written into your DNA before you ever chose a single meal. And genetics is only the beginning of what food cannot fix. Consider the thyroid, a small butterfly-shaped gland at the base of your neck that most people never think about until it fails them. Your thyroid controls the metabolic rate of nearly every cell in your body, hair follicles included. And when it slows down, a condition called hypothyroidism. One of the earliest visible signs is often diffuse, unexplained hair thinning. Millions of people live with undiagnosed thyroid dysfunction, quietly blaming their thinning hair on stress, on age, on the wrong shampoo, while the actual cause sits undetected in their bloodstream, invisible without a simple blood test. Then there are hormones themselves, estrogen, testosterone, and their more aggressive derivative, DHT, a hormone capable of binding to hair follicles and over time physically shrinking them. Conditions like polycystic ovary syndrome can throw this hormonal balance into chaos, triggering hair thinning that no amount of dietary iron or zinc can override, because the problem isn't a missing nutrient. It's a signaling system in open revolt. And perhaps most sobering of all autoimmune disease, alopecia areata is a condition where your own immune system, the very defense network built to protect you, turns against your hair follicles and attacks them directly, sometimes causing sudden patchy hair loss that can appear almost overnight. This is not a deficiency. This is not something a better diet resolves. This is your own biology, misfiring, and it requires real medical evaluation, not a grocery list. So why does any of this matter if the food still helps some people? Because silence has a cost. Because every year, people delay seeing a doctor, convinced that the right smoothie or the right supplement will eventually turn things around, while the actual cause, a thyroid disorder, a hormonal imbalance, an autoimmune condition even. In rare cases, an underlying illness, the body is signaling through hair loss continues untreated in the background. Hair loss can be one of the earliest visible warning signs the body gives before other more serious symptoms appear. Ignore the signal, chase the wrong solution, and you don't just lose time, you lose the chance for early intervention when it often works best. This is the honest, uncomfortable center of this entire story. Food is not the enemy of medicine. It is not a replacement for it either. Nutrition can absolutely restore what a genuine dietary deficiency has taken. That part is real, documented, and worth acting on. But nutrition was never designed to override genetics, silence an autoimmune attack, or fix a malfunctioning thyroid. Believing it can do all of that isn't optimism. It's a blind spot. And blind spots are exactly where the most treatable conditions get missed the longest. So here is the responsibility that comes with everything you've just learned. If your hair loss has been sudden clumps, patches, a hairline moving faster than months should explain, that is not a moment for another supplement. That is a moment for a doctor and a simple panel of blood work that can rule out or confirm a thyroid disorder, an iron deficiency, a hormonal imbalance, or an autoimmune condition, often for less effort than it takes to research another diet trend online. The answer might still be nutritional and might not be, but you deserve to actually know instead of guessing with your health for another 6 months while the real cause goes unnamed. This is what separates real information from wishful thinking. The foods, the mechanisms, the science, you've just heard, all of it is real, all of it matters. And for a genuine subset of people struggling with thinning hair, correcting a deficiency will be the entire answer. But for others, that plate of eggs and salmon is only step one, a foundation to build on, not a substitute for the diagnosis they still need to get. Respecting that difference isn't pessimism. It's what separates a video that actually helps people from one that simply tells them what they want to hear. Your body rarely lies to you. It sends signals quietly, consistently, long before anything becomes an emergency. Hair loss is one of those signals. Feed it what it's missing, and when that isn't enough, listen closely enough to ask what else it might be trying to say. So there you have it, 7 foods that supply the real foundational building blocks your hair follicles need. Protein, iron, zinc, biotin, omega-3 seconds, and vitamins A, D, and C. Now, I want to be clear about something. Food alone won't reverse hair loss caused by genetics or certain medical conditions. But if your diet has been missing these nutrients, correcting that could make a real difference in the strength, thickness, and growth of your hair over time. If you found this helpful, give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments which one of these foods are you already eating and which one are you going to add this week. I'll see you in the next video.